Hey guys, and welcome back to Brexit. Brexit England, Northern Ireland, and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit England, the people are stupid, racist Brexiters, right? Foolish idiots. Right? That's the truth about the people in this country. This country where I live. Right? You know, we've got people fighting against the nurses. Well, they don't deserve any more money. Why do they get any more money? Why do they deserve more? You should be happy with what they got. Like, it should be like 5%. The nurses are asking for something like 17% or something like that. But considering, you know what, I'm going to speak about the nurses a bit later. So look, let me carry on with what I was going to talk about. And why I find, right, the people in England stupid, thick, idiot racists. Right? The stupidity, right, of the people in this country, right, is second to none. And I'll tell you why I say that. Because you've got people like Baroness Moan. So that would be Baroness Michelle Moan. I suppose Shelley to her friends. But this woman and her husband, right, managed to get a £203 million contract, right, from the government to get PPE. You know, remember they had the VIP lane, right, that they used to steal a load of money, because that's all these guys done. This was like a bank robbery, right? But the only difference is, yeah, with this type of robbery, no one's going to prison, because when you're stealing this amount of money, right, you know, people don't go to prison for stealing this amount of money, because people who steal this amount of money are always people who are very well to do and are very high up in all, you know, in society. So that's why Baroness Lady Moan, or Shelley to her friends, that's the reason why she knew that she could do this and get away with it. Right, well, let's just hope that she doesn't get away with it. Let's hope they throw her ass in prison, because that's where she deserves to be. Her and her husband and her children, they all deserve to be in prison, because these people have stolen money directly from the taxpayer in this country. And let me tell you this, if you or I had stolen the amount of money that these people have stolen, right, our arse wouldn't even touch our settee for the next 10 years. Okay, they'd put us straight in prison. And you know, if you manage to steal £200 million, right, as like, you know, just a normal person, I can guarantee you'd probably get about 20-25 years in prison straight. There'd be no, oh well, you know, we really did need the PPE, and you know, a lot of people make mistakes, but a lot of this woman's PPE, right, was useless, right, couldn't be used, right. But here's the thing. Here's where I draw the problem with it, right? Is the fact that it was May 2020 that they set the company up, right? Now she said the company's got nothing to do with her, and she's not going to benefit at all out of it. That's what she said. Right? Just so happens that someone from the Guardian has managed to pull up all the paperwork, right? All of the paperwork for the £203 million contract, right? And between her husband and her children, they've managed to get £65 million out of a £203 million contract. Now that's basically impossible. That's basically impossible. Look, let's put it this way, right? If you were selling your house for, say, 200 grand, your house is probably worth more than that, but let's just say if you were selling a house for 200 grand, right? And then, right, you found out that your house actually sold for £265,000, right? Wouldn't you be saying to the estate agent, "Are you taking the piss, mate? Is that what you're doing here? Are you taking the piss? Because there's no way that you can make 65 grand, right, off of my house for 200 grand. How can you make 65 grand, right? You know, you're supposed to make, you know, maybe five or £6,000. That's what you're supposed to make off of that. Right? You're not supposed to make 65,000, right? So somewhere along the line, you've said to me, well, your house is worth 200 grand, right? Knowing that my house was worth 265, right? So you thought, oh, well, which would be illegal for you to do anyway. You wouldn't be able to do that anyway, unless you fully inform the person, listen, I'm selling your house for 265, but because I'm selling it for that price, I get to keep 65, because, you know, you only want the 200 grand, and we settled on that price. So now, right, and if you've got a contract saying that, then it's fine. But there's no way that someone will have a contract for £200,000. Right, sorry, for 200 million, 203 million. right? And some klutz is going to earn 65 million off that. Come on, really? How does that work? That it wouldn't work like that, right? And they earned off of the profits. They say, well, what profits? What profits? You was asked to get PPE. You was asked to buy PPE. So what profit? But that is what these people was allowed to do. And what she's done, is this money has gone to offshore accounts, all places like the Isle of Man, probably all them some of them countries in America where they've got the in the Caribbean where they've got all those tax havens, and that so money's probably ends up in those type of places as well. But that is what these people are about. That's social money, right? Because these people all live off of socialism, and that social money, right? This woman who earns £330 a day, right, for just going and signing in the House of Lords, right? So that's what she earns, right? And she decided, no, that's not enough, right? She and her family is going to steal 65 million out of a contract, right? Out of the government said to them, well, can you get 200 million pounds worth of PPE for us, right? And she managed to do that through like Michael Gove. Now I'm quite surprised with Michael Gove, but I'll be straight with you, right? I know for a fact, right, how all of this works. It's very simple, right? If I was giving you a contract for £200 million, right, I would be like, yeah, well, 65 million, okay then. It's not right. It's not right. But once you've got the opportunity, the opportunity is there, right? Human beings need money. Human beings live off of money. Right? So if you give humans the chance, right, to stack their pockets full, then they're going to take it. I've never believed in all this right honourable bullshit. I've never ever believed in it because something, these people are more greedy, right? And they will look at you. They will look at you and they'll say, oh no, if you as a person, right, was to get, say for example, you were signing on the social. And you was doing a little job on the side as well, right? So you was earning maybe like a little £100 or £200 a week extra a week, right, on top of your dole money. You know how they talk? You know how they deal with you, and how greedy they say you are. They say, you greedy bitch, you fucking so greedy. Look at you, but look at them. Look at them, £330 a day. That's not enough. Ooh, no way near enough. Not to the 65 million that they knew they could steal. And that, right, is the true Brexit Britain. That is what this country has come down to, because they've allowed the racists to take over. Right? So that's why these people could get to steal all that money, right, while telling people like the nurses, you don't deserve anymore, you can go and piss off. And welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages. A special thanks to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that signed up, so thank you so much for that. I'll go through all the messages. I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all the messages for definite. We're going to start in America with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump has been attacking. That we were discussing like the special counsel, the special prosecutor has been brought in over the Mar-a-Lago papers and the January 6th thing with the Department of Justice. Well, by Merrick Garland, I should say. Well, Trump decided he's going to go and start attacking Jack Smith's wife. And something, this man is a war crimes prosecutor. War crimes, right? And you're going to go and start attacking his wife. But I mean, it's the thing with Trump here. Trump is one of them people, that just, if you don't do exactly what he says when he wants, right, then that's it. He will attack you anyway. So it doesn't surprise me that he's attacking this man's wife. But I just can't see that going well for him. I just can't see it going well for him because, I don't really think that Jack Smith is the person that he should really be doing that to. Whether or not he gets him jailed or he even gets him into court is another thing. I don't know. But I just don't think that's going to go well for him. But if you look at like Trump again, right? I'll see him this week, and he said like William Barr. So but Trump called him sloppy sloppy William Barr now, because Trump doesn't like him anymore, hates him. But William Barr was the one who got him off the Mueller report, like for the whole Russia thing, right? Whereas Trump keeps saying to his supporters, just read the transcript, right? Knowing that his supporters not going to read it, but in the transcript it says he's guilty. But he just says to his supporters, it says, yeah, because William Barr just said, nah, you know what? Nah, we're not going to run with this. And now Trump is just cussing him off like he's a fucking idiot. And he is an idiot. Right? He's all over the media. He's all over the media, right? Talking nonsense, William Barr. Right? And Trump is just mugging him off at every single given opportunity after he fully saved Trump. Fully saved him. Do you know what I mean? Put his own career on the line. Right, because William Barr, right, if prosecutors really looked into what William Barr done, they could probably jail him for what he's done, right, what he done over the Mueller report. They could probably jail him for that, right? And, I remember there was some talk earlier, I think this year or the end of last year, where they were saying, well, you know what, this is like, it was really serious, right, how he's misled over that report, William Barr. He just completely misled. And look how Trump is just treating him now. He's just treating him like a complete jackass. We're dissing him at every given opportunity. Trump will be dissing him. And we're staying in America because Disney are building affordable homes for their employees. And, I just look at that and say, something, right? That's just ridiculous, right? Because, it should be governments. Obviously we've got the same problem in this country where, governments haven't been building houses, right? And for me, right, you shouldn't have to, there shouldn't be a long wait, right? People waiting over 10 years to get a council property or whatever. And it shouldn't be like that, right? It shouldn't be like that at all. There should be more than enough council properties available for people if someone needs a house to live in, right? They've made the house prices in this country so high. And I mean, they've done that because they made it easy for people to get the money, for people to stretch themselves, to buy a house for like, 300 or 400 grand or 500 grand, right? Make them stretch themselves right out. Right? And, but said, oh no, let them get the money. And then, all that does is it just makes the house prices just keep going up and up and up. Every single time they do, they come up with some nonsense for that, for the houses. Right, that's all it does. But in the meantime, they haven't been building no council houses over here. And in America, in America, right now, Disney have got to start building houses, affordable for their people. And for me, that's just a ridiculous situation because I'm sure that in Britain and America, right, we've got a bomb and a bullet, right, for every single person in the Middle East. Every last one of them, we've got a bomb and a bullet for them. But they can't house their own people in their own fucking countries. Right? I find that just sickening, just ridiculous. Right? But that's what you get, right, when you've got people who are actively acting against your own interest. Right? Now, Biden's only been in for 2 years or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So whether or not he's gonna, he's gonna look at that situation and say, well, we need to get more houses built, or Ron DeSantis, because he's governor in Florida. So really, right? Remember what he done just a couple of weeks ago. He spent millions of pounds, sending them people to Martha's Vineyard, or sending them outside the vice president's house, or sending them to some part of America, right? He spent millions of pounds doing that, right? But yet, for all, in his district, the woke Disney, right, are the ones who are building houses, right? The woke snowflakes are the ones who are building houses for people, for their employees, affordable homes for their employees. The woke snowflakes, right? While the right wing, right, are taking human beings and sending them somewhere they don't want to go. But people will still vote for that bullshit, won't they? I remember we had the shooting in the LGBTQ plus club the other week in where was it? Wasn't Virginia? There was one in Virginia, wasn't there? But this the other one. But that one in the LGBTQ plus shooting. The guy's dad, I saw him being interviewed, and the first thing the guy's dad said was, well, at least my son wasn't gay. I don't know why I said that in an Australian voice, but I did. But I thought, you're just a fucking hillbilly fucking dick, and they should throw you in prison, right, for what you're fucking disgusting son went and done. They should be throwing the dad in prison. When you see this man being interviewed, do you know what I mean? It's just like, you know, the casual nature that he's taking like what his son has gone and done. Do you know what I mean? You think to yourself, why is this guy just slap some fucking handcuffs on him, right? Hold on, his son is still alive, isn't he? I think he's still alive. Yeah, you know, they should put him in the same cell as his son, right? You know, just some people, some people are really just lead some really disgusting lives, just horrible lives, and they're really just nasty people. And it's, you know, it's understandable, right, that this boy must have been brought up really, really badly, right, to go and do what he done. But then when you hear his father, you understand that he probably didn't have a fucking chance throughout his whole life being brought up by that man. And he could take some notes from the Japanese supporters, right, who started cleaning up the stadium after, you know, their team just lost as well, right? They just stayed behind and just cleaned up the whole stadium, No mess about, right? And then the Japanese players, right, decided they was going to like leave some origami paper swans, right, to say thank you to the people who must clean out changing rooms or whatever. I left a thank you note. I mean, like, seriously, the Japanese are just such nice people, right? But you know, I've seen them do that so much times, and you know, in Japan, like, when you go to Japan, you know, you see a lot of people wearing masks, right? And they're genuinely wearing masks, right? Because you know what? They might have a cold and they don't want to pass it on to nobody else. Whereas the people in this country, all over you on the train or on the bus or whatever. I don't give a shit, right? So seriously, the Japanese are such nice people, such good people. You know what I mean? Like, you know, to see them at, you know, at the World Cup, it's just a blessing to see them at the World Cup, and you know, behaving like that as well. So you know, I say like, big up to the Japanese. You know what I mean, really. And Jill Scott, Lioness, wins I'm a Celebrity, beating the young lad from Hollyoaks and Matt Hancock, who made it through to the final three. And I don't know how the hell that happened, right? Because when I see him, all I think about, right, is the catastrophe that he was in over COVID. I mean, you know, remember he was the health secretary, right? And you know, he was the most useless health secretary because he put he put a protective ring around, you know, the old people's homes, the OAP homes, and the hospitals. He put a protective ring around them by putting people with COVID into the hospitals and into the old people's homes, right? But the protective ring, you know, one of the most useless politicians to have ever graced this country, Matt Hancock. I have no clue how that man come inside. I mean, you know, when you know, obviously, like, you know, he done well throughout all of the trials and all that, and you know, you have to look at him and say, well, he's very bored. He's got a lot of fucking guts, right? But you know, you just have to think about what he presided over, and then I think you can understand that, you know, why people are quite kind of upset with him. England draw and Wales lose. So that sets up a massive battle of Britain, right? Where Wales have got to beat England 4-0, right? To go through. Which obviously is going to be, you know, it's going to be a very hard task for the Wales to beat England 4-0. It'll be a very, very difficult task. You know, so I think the Welsh are probably going to be coming home. They're coming home. Right, so from what I've heard, a lot of the Welsh supporters, right, are out, right, doing a lot of sightseeing because they think it's all over. Yeah, I think it probably is for Wales, to be honest. I don't know if you've seen this story. 2 16-year-old boys murdered in Thamesmead, and then a 16-year-old boy has been arrested for stabbing 2 16-year-old boys. You know, and this was about these murders was like a mile apart from each other. So I don't know. You know, they haven't really said much about that story, but you know, it's very, very sad to think that like these 3 are 16-year-olds, and that's 3 16-year-old lives completely ruined. You know, and their families, all their families' lives completely ruined as well. So, you know, it's very, very sad when you see people at that type of age, you know, murdering each other, and you know, more than likely over something really stupid. A man has been charged with the murder of a woman and 2 children in Nottingham. after a fire was started deliberately. And there's another really, really sad story. Do you know what I mean? Because I don't know if he's poured petrol through the letterbox or how it's happened. But obviously, I think the police, I think they're not looking for no one else in that case. So I think obviously he must have been known to them or something, and and it's just a really, really horrible situation. Really, really horrible situation. And we have a mass exodus of Tory MPs. A lot of Tory MPs are saying, you know something, yeah? No, man, I've had enough of this, right? I'm not even going to stand in the next election, right? Especially a lot of the red wall Tories. Can't they just cross the floor at the moment? Can't they just say, you know what, I'm crossing the floor? Right, because one of them done it earlier this year, I think, isn't it? Right? So, or it might be, I suppose, I think the floor has to be crossed, right? And I think it's got to be done. There's a certain amount of time before the next election, so I think that's the reason. That might be the reason why they can't do it now. But so a lot of them are saying, yeah, we've had it with this lot. But that doesn't, because because the Tories are doing so badly, that doesn't mean that they're going to lose the next election. Because at the moment they're really fighting, they're really pushing the culture wars. They're coming up, they're really, really pushing all the culture wars. So I can't see, it doesn't say for definite that Labour will win the next election because, as I said, right, the people in this country are stupid, thick, Brexit racist. Right, that's what they are. Right, and with that, right, the Tories know they know that they can. But you see, then again, I forgot about the Indian. That's what I forgot. I forgot about the Indian stick insect. Right, and let me tell you, right, that alone will lose the Tories the next election. I completely forgot, yeah, that they got the brown guy in charge, right? Because there's a lot of people. Well, I mean, already, right? Rishi Sunak has given Conservative MPs an ultimatum by the 5th of December. Either you tell me you're going to stay to be a Tory MP, or you get the hell out. He's given them that. He's given them the option by the 5th of December. If they want to stand as a Tory MP, right? If they're not going to stand as a Tory MP, they need to tell him by the 5th of So, but I think so far, it's 9 or 10 of them so far, I think, that's saying no, not having no more of this. And then we've got Richard Drax MP has been asked by Barbados to pay reparations. And I think he's been over there. And started discussing this, right? But Richard Drax, right? His family, I think, was one of the first, people involved in slavery. I'm sure that his family, because obviously he's one of the richest MPs in Parliament. He's very, 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 very wealthy, right? But I'm sure his family was one of the first, right, to start dealing with slavery. Right, but I say, well, you're prepared to take your family's money, right? So if you're prepared to take the money, then you should be prepared to give reparations back to the people of Barbados, and that's I suppose that's where they can learn. They can probably link him back to there, and that's probably why they're going for that. And then we've got more strikes, and it looks like a rail strike at Christmas. So we're going to have Christmas misery with rail strikes. And I saw the other day the Daily Mail had I think it was probably just an internet headline on the front page, right? Because I think they changed them a couple of times throughout the day, right? But it said, looking at all these strikes, right, is a look at what it would be like under the Labour Party. I was like, looking at all the strikes we're looking at now, yeah? We're looking at them now. But you're saying this is what it would be like under the Labour Party. These people actually take the piss, right? And they do it at will, and they don't care, right? They really just do not care, right? Because we've got the Tories, and we're going through the bloody misery, right, of all these strikes. MP Mark Spencer the other day, I mean, he made a similar comment, right? And I just sat there thinking to myself, are you crazy? What was it he said? He said something about, he was trying to put down the Labour Party, right, when his government, right, has completely destroyed the country. Right? And I thought, so are you? I can't remember what it was he said, but he said something. Right? And I thought, this guy's a klutz, an absolute idiot, right? An absolute fool. And I don't know if you've seen, like, this morning, right? Just Stop Oil have had a protest, right? And the police just had to walk with them. The police couldn't do anything about this protest because what they was doing was they was walking in the road, right, with signs and shouting stuff out about, obviously, about fossil fuels, and just shouting, and the police just had to walk along with them, could not stop them. So apparently the police was there really frustrated, but obviously they caused a lot of problems. I think it was at the Strand, and they caused a lot of problems. So they've come up with a new tactic, right? And it looks like it could be one that really works, right? Because I think there's about 12 of them or whatever. But as I said, they just walked in the road, and they just kept in motion. And I think that way, I think they're allowed to actually do that. And I don't think there's no... So whether or not they're going to come up with, we want to change the law to make sure that they can't do that type of thing as well. They may well do something like that. Nurses will go on strike on the 15th and the 20th of December. I remember the Baroness Moan story where she's like, her family managed to get themselves £65 million out of taxpayers' money, but they'll say to the nurses, no. Why should you get any more? What do you think you do? What do you think you do? Isn't it enough, right, that we come outside and bang some pots and some pans and all those things for you? What more do you want? Seriously, the people who actually the backbone of this country, right, are treated like absolute shite, right? And the people who rip the shit out of this country, right, live off of socialism, right? They're just allowed to get away with it, right? And we want to treat the nurses, the doctors, the paramedics, the firemen, the police. We want to treat them all like shit, like they're crap, like they do nothing. What a horrible country this really is. The government are planning to use the army to help with the NHS strikes. So they get soldiers to drive ambulances and all these type of things. There's some charter or something like that. I can't remember what it was called now. It was some charter or something like that that says, if they have this type of thing, they have you have a breakdown in the NHS or one of these type of services, probably the police and the fire service, then they will they'll have to draw the army in. So there's they've got things what they can do that with. So but for me, I mean, it just shows how badly this country has been doing. This country's just been doing so badly. Do you know what I mean? When we can have to bring the army in. Because remember the Olympics when they had to bring, in the Olympics, right? I can remember, what was I? I was somewhere in London and I was speaking to a sailor, right? It's not fucking Southampton. Right? I was speaking to a sailor in London. Do you know what I mean? And I saw admirals and all with the big hats, right? And all throughout the Olympics, right? Because there was, I was like, I was speaking to a sailor. Right? And I'm nowhere near any water, right? But they was just there because we had the army, the sailors, all out helping with the Olympics, And now if we have a breakdown, if we have strikes, they're going to have the army out to help. I mean, I can remember the green goddesses. That must have been another fire person strike, innit? When they had the green goddesses out, but I don't think they've got the green goddesses anymore. And then doctors have voted to work between 9 and 5. It's just, what, right? This country's just like, when I was a kid, I remember the doctor, the big German guy, used to come to, when I was really young, he used to come to our house on a regular basis. He used to come to our house. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it was just normal for the doctor to just come to our house when we was kids. It was normal, right? And then he had a surgery, about a half a mile away from my house, right? And we just turn up there, sit down, in the surgery. Didn't have to have any appointment. Just turn up, sit down, just wait. And then obviously it started getting to where you had to start phoning up in the morning and all these type of things. But right, when I was a kid, right, you could just turn up at the surgery. That was it. I mean, there was no need for no appointment, nothing. Right, you just turn up at the surgery. And now, right, look where we've gone to now, where you virtually can't get appointments on the same day. Where and before you used to be able to, but now obviously as I said, the doctors, they want to work 9 to 5. And now we've got the fire brigade has been found to be institutionally racist. I say, oh, come on, man. You start back this again. These people are just a reflection of society. Right? People are racist. Right? I know that we had the hostile environment for 40 years towards black and Asian people in this country, and that was from so that lasted from 1950, right through to the 90s. Right, there was a hostile environment against black and Asian people to try and make them leave this country. That's the reason why so much of us was miseducated, right? And the police was allowed to batter us, right? Throughout, for me it was throughout obviously the 80s and the 90s, but you could go back to the late 60s, 70s, 80s, right? Where the police was allowed to just batter, right? Which means that and they set all the institutions up so that it would be harder for a black person to get social housing, and if they did get social housing, it would be inadequate. They'd put them into places where it's very inadequate. So and all of that is the hostile environment. And then obviously the workplaces was, I remember I left the workplace, right, back in 1996, right, because it was too racist. That's why I left the workplace. That's why I left. That's why I left. Because, I had loads of jobs. I had loads of jobs when I was younger. I had loads of jobs, but it was just too racist. When I tell you too racist, it was far too racist in the workplace. That's why I just left that and started working for myself. And from since then, I haven't had a job working for someone else from since like 96, right? Because it was just too, So it doesn't surprise me that you've got in the fire brigade, you've got people placing nooses above a black fireman's locker. Someone placed a noose, and they put bacon in the locker of a Muslim firefighter, and they put bacon in his food that he was eating, so none of this surprises me. And also is very misogynistic in the fire brigade. None of that surprised me because it's just a reflection of what I see of the people of this country, right? Racist, misogynistic, bigoted, xenophobes. That's just the truth. Unfortunately, that's just the truth. And so it's no surprise that no surprise to me at all that that's in the fire brigade as well. And then I don't know if you know about microplastics, but they say that like if you was to eat like a full roast dinner every day for a year, right? They think that you would eat the equivalent of 2 carrier bags. Well, we're not talking about like a bag for life or nothing like that. We're just talking about those thin blue ones. But still, these microplastics seem to be like a major issue, right? And if we're eating that much plastic because we're consuming it because it comes off of our utensils in the kitchens, right? If we're buying food that's wrapped in plastic, right, there's a lot more microplastics that end up in your food through that. And then you've got particles floating in the air of microplastics, which will obviously land on your food that you're cooking and that. And then, there's animals managing to eat plastics as well. So that's how it can end up as, microplastics inside of us. So there's, quite a few different ways. I think even planting stuff, right, can have microplastics in it as well. When so, I mean, they're just finding this out now, right? And someone done a study and they took it, then they showed it to the doctor, and the doctor said, well, that's actually 7 times higher than we actually thought that people was ingesting in microplastics, right? Because obviously this is plastics that we can't see, right? Because you're talking about something that's no bigger than 5 millimeters, right? So that's really small. So so it's no bigger than 5 millimeters. So if you've got something that's half a millimeter, you literally will not be able to see it with your eyes, So yeah, so that's how So it's very, very dangerous. And a lot of doctors are looking at this and saying, well, we don't know how, what the effects is going to be on the body with all these microplastics. And I think it's something they've known about for a little while, because obviously the whole world has been devastated by plastic, right? And so much of it ends up in places like landfill, and and obviously they find it very difficult to keep it out of like food that's wrapped in plastics. So I don't know how we're going to. Well, they say that if your food's not really, you get a lot less if your food's not wrapped in plastic, and things like all those microwaves, like vegetables and all those type of things. That's where you get a lot of microplastics in. Egg farmers in the UK have said the supermarket support has come too late to save them. To save the industry, right? Looks like our industry, the egg farming industry in this country, could be really. But the thing is, we know that the Europeans will just step in right, and just take over the markets, because that's what we do all the time. We allow everybody else to come in and take over our markets. And let's talk about some Brexit. Keir Starmer has said Britain will not be returning to freedom of movement. And the thing is, right. I'm looking at what Keir Starmer's doing, right, and I know that he's actually playing a blinder, because it couldn't be about freedom of movement anyway, right? Without joining the customs union or the single market right. Without joining one of the three, right, you couldn't be about freedom of movement anyway, because freedom of movement goes both ways. So the EU would have to say to us, okay. Right. So we will be looking at the EU. We'll be looking at the EU getting freedom of movement. Somehow I don't know, easy travel or something like that. They'll probably call it. Do you know what I mean? They'll come up with something, right? But we won't, unless we join the single market EU, the single market customs union, or rejoin the EU, right? But Starmer, for me, I mean, because the people I can see who he's trying to appeal to. He's trying to appeal, right, to the racist Northerners. That's who he's trying to appeal to, the damn racist Northerners, right? And people like towns like Grimsby who have lost. For me, those people should be like ashamed of themselves, right? We shouldn't be bowing down to them. But you see, Starmer's a different person to me, because I'll just tell them straight, you bunch of racist motherfucking fools, right? Like how Hillary Clinton, maybe that didn't go too well for her in 2016, when she, I think probably around 2014, 2015, when she called them a box of deplorables, right? But she was absolutely right, because look, those are the very same people who went and charged that January 6th. That's the very same people. Right. So yeah, they are a box of deplorables, and when you see them through Charlottesville and places like that, yeah, they are. But when you tell these people, they're like, oh, well, I'm going to tell even more racist. I'm going to go even more racist now and see what happens now, right? But these people have managed to have the world to themselves for too long. And that's what the problem is. And they need to be told. But, as I said, right, the way how Starmer was playing this, I couldn't play it like that, unfortunately. And that's probably why someone like me could never be in power, because I couldn't play it as cool as Starmer. And Starmer is giving the Tories very little way. And the Tories are still attacking him over Brexit. They're still saying, oh, well, he wants to reverse Brexit. And Starmer's never said that. He I know deep down he probably would, he probably would in a second, because he understands that our economy cannot be repaired unless we go back into the EU, right? There's no repairing our economy. It's not going to happen. Right, look, the Japan deal looks like it's just falling to pieces. And the Japanese are such lovely people. But it looks like that deal is just going to fall to pieces. Right, so and then with the Australia deal, where we have basically been kicked as hard as you like with stilettos or winkle pickers. They've got sharp, whatever they are, right? The toe part is sharp and kicked straight in the short and curlies, right? That, right, is that's what's happened. Do you know what I mean? So look, I don't think, as I said, I just think that Starmer, the way Starmer's playing this. Do you know what I mean? I think he's playing it right. I don't like how he's playing it. I'm really pissed in the way how he's playing it. Do you know what I mean? Because he's pandering to the racists. Because that's exactly what he's doing. He's pandering to them, and I don't like that. But I think that Starmer, because he understands. I think Starmer understands how things work in this country. He fully understands how things work in this country. So I think on that basis, he's probably playing it right. I don't like it, but he's probably going the right way. The UK has lost over 4,000 EU doctors. It's like, no, we don't want to work in England no more because you are a bunch of stupid racists. So we don't want to work there no more. And that, that obviously that's just destroying the NHS. It's over 4,000, right? So, and a lot of these, I think a few of these used to work in some of the private hospitals as well, like Nuffield Trust and all that. So, and then we had quite a lot in the NHS. And now they're just like, no, we don't want to work in England no more, right? But then, when you're going to work here, and then they could come over here, right, and 70 or 80% of their wages is going to like paying like utilities and rent and or mortgage, and do you know what I mean? And no one needs that. Do you know what I mean? At the moment in this country, right, I'd say there's a lot of people, who are paying their utilities, right, and their rent or their mortgage or whatever over 90% of their wages. Right, so they've got like 10% of their wages, right, to feed. If they've got kids, to feed the kids, right, to clothe them, to get them to school, to get themselves to work, to feed themselves, right. If 90% of your wages is going on like rent and utilities, right, you've only got 10% of your wages. But that's what's happening in this country, and it's happening all over the place. But that's why I'll tell you there's no way. I just can't see any way, that they're going to be able to get that a lot of those doctors to come back to this country until the whole situation with the pound changes as well. Until the pound is worth a bit more money, So I just I can't. They've lost control of the economy, right? And I can't see them getting back control of the economy until they rejoin the customs union or the single market. The UK's trade export growth is slower than the EU, the US, and all G7 countries. It's probably all G20 that we're slower than. I would say, right, if we look on a world ranking, the UK will have one of the slowest growths across every country in the world. That's in my opinion. I'm quite sure that would be the case because our economy is not stagnant; it's going backwards. Right? It's not moving slowly; it's going backwards. They're taking us back. They're taking us back to 1950s levels anyway. So but to be honest, I was expecting that. And once again, Britain has turned into the sick man of Europe. So says the Observer. And I know what you're thinking. Those snowflake woke lefty fools. That's the reason why they only make one newspaper a week. They only print one newspaper a week on a Sunday. Right? And how dare... I'm sure that's what it is. I'm sure I'm right on that, right? Yeah. I don't think that... Because they do the Guardian on Saturday. But, yeah. So, those woke lefty snowflake idiots, right, about Britain as a sick man. But that's what I was predicting. Because the reason why Britain went into the EU in the first place is because it was the sick man of Europe. That's why it went in the first place. Right? And it thought, you know what, we can go in, we can make, well, after the 40 odd years that I was in for, it thought, oh, you know what, now we're rich, right? We don't need them anymore. Right? It's like that thing. We don't need no education. Well, how's that going for us? Because right now, people are begging, right, for there to be some type of referendum to go back into the EU. Begging in this country, right? I mean, big business is big. I mean, I can guarantee you, right, that if like Tim Martin and Lord Wolselton had the chance again, right, I guarantee you that they might say, you know what, oh no, I'd still vote for Brexit. That's all bravado. If they had the opportunity, I guarantee you, they would put that tick mark in Remain. Guaranteed. Anyway, guys, look, I am 25 minutes over. I only done 2 videos last week, and today is Monday. So, happy Monday, by the way, right? And, so there was a lot of stories. So, I just used that excuse that there was a lot of stories. Anyway, guys, look, I'm definitely going to do a video tomorrow. I'm going to do a video every day this week, for definite. So, I will see you, no doubt, tomorrow. This, my friends, is By Any Means Necessary. I'm the MC John Ribs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.